save! Mercy, what a stop!
My goodness, what a save!
What a save! What a glove save there, but what a stop! Looked like a sure goal. You talk about an A+ save and maybe the save of the night.
Welcome to the Goalie Science podcast, where we break down the science of goaltending, coaching, and everything in between. I'm Dr. Jamie Phillips, former professional goalie, board-certified physical therapist, and goalie performance specialist, alongside my co-host, Derek Boujan, owner of Boujan Goaltending and On Ice Hockey Performance Center. Whether you're on your way to a game, gearing up for practice, or just tuning in, grab your favorite drink and let's drop the puck on this week's episode. Welcome to another episode of the Goalie Science podcast. I think this is 116. I probably should have checked before I created the Rouge. It's been 2 weeks. I have been available 2 weeks. You have not been available for 2 weeks. You said mean things to me behind the camera, before the camera, and it hurt my feelings, and I don't like it. But Rouge, how you been? Open borders. Sounds like it's a fun time in Ontario.
I look about 35 years older. My beard is grayer and bushier. My belly is fatter and uglier. And I have nothing to blame but open borders and the absolute abuse that I'm getting from parents. And much of it is deserved. But it, man, anybody go back, listen to these podcasts back in November, December, when we had this chat about open borders, and I said, this is a bad thing. Open borders sucks. Like, it sucks. Anybody who's been inside, like either like coaching or running an association, and even parents, like, I don't know anybody who said, oh yeah, open borders, this has worked out really well. This is anarchy. It is prison rules. The amount of like kids that like you think that you want to see one more time because you like them, but you're not sold, and they just go sign somewhere else. And you're like, awesome. It was really awesome. And the amount of like mistakes that coaches are making because they get guns put to their head and sign me in the next 10 minutes or I'm going somewhere else. And you know what? There's stories that go both ways. And if you are on Facebook or live in Ontario, you probably heard about this giant Facebook conspiracy.
What? No, I didn't hear about this giant Facebook conspiracy.
Conspiracy about players leaving one team to go to another association. It's all over Facebook, but yeah, I'd probably be right in the dad middle of that one. That's probably accurate to say. So, well, it's been a time, man. It's been a time.
For everyone that doesn't live in Ontario on Facebook, that's me basically me. What is this conspiracy?
Oh, I'll tell you off the thing. If you want to see it, you just go on TikTok.
Okay. All right. So everyone listening and watching,
talk about it. Yeah, everybody listening and watching, they'll go on TikTok and you'll figure it out.
Okay. So with the open borders, Wild West, everyone's just, it needs to be signed right now, or else they're just jumping from team to team. Like, with the players, what's the average number of tryouts these kids are going to that you're seeing?
Like team wise, I'd say probably 2, maybe 3. But like, so with the OHF portal, I can see where every kid is registered to try out. So if they come into my team to try out, I can see where they've registered. And I'm in the middle of a tryout right now where one kid has registered for 7 other centers. So he is attending 7 tryouts at the same time.
How is that?
Nice. Well, I don't know. I don't know, like overlapping times. Now, he may not have skated everywhere, but he's registered. So if you think about the average registration fee is probably $100. And that's going to guarantee, some places guarantee 2 skates, some places guarantee 1 skate. But if you're signed for 7 different places, that's probably, let's say, $700 just to try out for A hockey. That's not including the 4 AAA teams he tried out for and the 3 AA teams he tried out for. So like this guy is $1,600 in the hole just for tryouts. And he's at an A trial, so that means the AAA and the AA trials didn't work out for him. But it is wild. When we say prison rules and the wild, wild west, like, it ain't a good thing. The cat's out of the bag. The cat's not going back in. Mistakes were made. I think everyone's going to learn a lot from it this year. And I feel like us talking, I feel like I had a pretty good grasp on what it was going to be like. And it was way worse than I thought. Like, it's terrible.
What do you think the biggest downside on the players, like for you as actually, let's go this way. For as a coach, what do you think has been the most frustrating part? If you could point out one thing.
You got to make decisions so fast because kids will walk. And like, you'll get a call and be like, hey, if you can't commit to me right now, we're going to sign over here. And it's like, where you get 10 minutes to decide, and you have him maybe like 8th on your depth chart of forwards or something like that. And it's like, you got to commit to this kid, and then you're going to miss out. So I'm coaching a team for the first time in about 10 years. So I had to go through a trial process. And I have my own beliefs on how a trial process goes, and I have my own beliefs on how releasing should happen. And I want to talk about that. And I would say, like, I got to look over my shoulder now. Like, I'm going to get stabbed in the Zayres parking lot one day because people now know what you've known forever, that guy's just an ass, and we got to get rid of him. But like, we had to make decisions after skate number 2 with like 35 house league kids on the ice and kids that played double A last year that were like in the mix, but needed decisions right away. And it's just like, it's incredibly difficult as a coach to have to make those decisions if you didn't do your homework. Like, any coach that kind of got thrown to this last minute and wasn't out watching playoff games for months and months and months, like, I feel so bad for those guys. Like, those guys would be right now just making mistakes and not be able to take them back. And like, this definitely makes the coaches that put the work in before tryouts, it gives them such an advantage.
This thing is rotting your brain. Now, the average American spends about 4 hours and 37 minutes on their phone a day. And yes, I did Google that to find the exact answer. The average hockey player probably spends around double that, because I spend all day at the rink. I see you kids these days on your phone. What would you do if you had access to NHL level goalie coaching at every second? Well, we have access to our phones at every single second of the day because we're never not with it. Trust me, this thing is glued to my body. Well, I created the EGM Labs app. That is essentially my second brain. This is every sort of piece of content that I have ever done. There's over 2,000 hours of video, training, breakdown, edge works. I'm constantly adding to it. Every single day I add a new drill, lesson, something to make you a better goalie. Now, the initial feedback has been unbelievable. The app is available only on iOS and desktop right now. Android is coming soon. So if you're curious about it, go in the iOS App Store, search Elite Goalie Method Labs. You get a free preview. It gives you a little bit of a taste of every sort of section we have in there. So after you download the free trial, if it's something you're interested in, and I promise this is going to make you a better goalie. And after you try the free preview, if this is something that you want, you can go click the link down below or in the show notes and sign up for the full app. Or if it's something you're like, you know what, Jamie, not for me, I'm okay. I respect that. You can delete the app. It's free, no login, anything required until you sign up for the full thousands and thousands of hours of content. All right, back to the episode. So you're saying that basically the coaches, all recruiting has to be done before tryouts, and then you just sign with kids. Basically the only way to get through this.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like, you need to start watching games in February. You need to have guys, but I mean, that doesn't work either there, because I recruited a pretty good team, and I lost 8 guys to AAA, and that was perfect because that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to develop kids to AAA hockey, but like, trying to make a team is impossible at open borders. Like, it really is. It's not a good thing. And like,
So
story
is it basically
like
Oh, no, I want to hear stories from other coaches.
same thing. Like, I had calls this morning from coaches, like buddies of mine that are coaching teams, that put out offers to 3 or 4 different goalies, and they all declined because they found spots other way, because he had a day off between tryout 2 and tryout 3. The day off, they went to another team and they signed somewhere.
So does this basically remove the integrity of the tryout process?
Yeah, like, I don't know how you can try out. You can't look at a kid long enough to have him compete against other kids. So like, it's gonna be mistake after mistake for a lot of these guys out there, unless they did their work beforehand. And I mean, is that a good thing? This kind of forces coaches to like, get out and watch games and put in the work. So is it a bad thing to make these coaches work harder in order to build those teams?
No, but it also does hurt. Like I know if you look at the kids side of it, um, I know tryouts happening now versus tryouts happening obviously in the fall. But we're for young kids can get really good over the summer, right? And if everyone's signed immediately after the next team or after the end of that season, and some kid goes through growth spurt, has all these opportunities, and now he's gonna be stuck playing single A or double A when in reality, if there was a like a real tryout process. Oh, that's tough.
I mean, that's no different than
I
it's
can
ever been.
see
That's a spring tryout issue, not a tryout problem.
that's true. I can see how everyone's just fielding 8 different teams and offers at one time, and I probably would have done the same thing, but you have to adapt to the environment you're in, but it's gonna be brutal for coaches.
It's brutal.
Uh,
Like it is.
we need to get Steve Thompson on because now it's like body of work or tryout.
Oh, can we? Yeah. Before we move off the tryouts and start talking about how smart and genius we are, because Carter Hellebuck showed us that we know what we're talking about. He was wrong. Um, but one thing I want to say, I want to talk about cuts, and I want to talk about coaches and releases. And this is a hot topic, especially because, like I said, I'm probably going to get run over in this grocery store parking lot in the next week or so. And we can definitely attribute that to my releases. But so I am old school, and I guess that makes me old for saying that. But I believe like everyone's doing these tins where you have like a tryout number, and then you just put the number on the internet, and if your number's gone, you've been released, or they'll send you an email releasing you. And someone asked me about this the other day because when I did my last probably 15 cuts, I did it face to face, and I did it with the kid and the parent in the room, and I did it just for a couple of reasons, and I just that hope that more coaches can see this side of it, because I had even some colleagues who coach kind of came after me and said that it wasn't right. And I'm like, what are we talking about? So if you send a TIN number or an email to a parent that says, sorry, your son is being released from so-and-so's team. Thank you for coming to tryouts. You get two things happening. Number one, the parent's going to automatically want feedback. They're going to want to know why. So they're going to reach out to you. And now some coaches will just ignore that email, and some coaches will take the time and give out the feedback. Number two, you're taking the onus of the release and putting it on the parent. The coach who is releasing him from his team, it doesn't matter whether you cut him in person, cut him through an email, or cut him through a TIN. The child is still getting released. That doesn't change the fact that you're cutting a kid. The cut is still happening. But what you're doing is you're taking the onus of breaking that news to the kid yourself as the coach, and you're making the parents cut the kid for you. So if you send this email at 9 a.m. and your kid goes to school, you have from 9 a.m. to like 3:30 when he gets home from school. All day you're thinking about this. Oh, when he gets home from school, I'm going to have to tell him. I'm going to have to break his heart, because the coach was too much of a coward to do it himself. That's number one. Number two, I think you give the kid and the parent an opportunity to tell you made a mistake. If you say, you had a great tryout, I didn't see you in my top 9, this is what I think you need to work on, but you're right there. And the kid can stand up, look in the eye and say, you made a mistake and I'm going to show you, and you're going to regret making this choice. That is like the greatest feeling in the world for me anyway. Like I love that. And that it gives them the opportunity, because either way, they're going to be heartbroken. Either way, they're going to be disappointed. So you give them the outlet to basically tell you to go, shove it up your ass. And that's going to make them feel better. And it lets mom and dad, if they want to tell you you're a jackass, it gives them the opportunity to do that. And cutting kids shouldn't be easy for a coach. If you can cut a kid and it's easy for you, you're a bad coach. Plain and simple. Like if it's something you enjoy doing, you're a psychopath. And making the parent do it for you is such an easy way out for you. People think it makes it easy for the kid. The kid is still getting cut.
Yeah.
but you don't have the balls to do it face to face. You're making the parent cut their kid. And that's not fair to the parent either.
I agree.
Forget to read it. And if you said, right, I have to fire you from my podcast, I'd find somebody else who just agreed with everything I said.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've had this conversation offline before, where I don't get it. I am a big believer in the feedback. I mean, I am also quote old school. Every time I've been cut, it's been usually face to face or at least a phone call. I can see why the numbers sometimes make sense when you have a massive group. I don't agree with it, but I could see how that would be part of the devil's advocate argument. And then the second part would be, I'm assuming that a lot of it would result in fistfights when you meet the parents just fighting the coaches. But I agree, and I think the feedback, yeah, and the feedback thing is really important too. And so we just got through our districts here in Michigan, and I was in charge of all the goalies. And I haven't said we made. I'm pretty sure we released who's moving forward, but in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I have to email hundreds of goalies an email saying basically the biggest area of biggest strength and the one area that all the evaluators thought that they could improve upon that's going to move the needle the most in their game. Because in the past, they've either gotten no feedback, or in certain ones, they've had to use certain USA hockey forms, which are, like we talked about, in my opinion, not very good. And they've got these things and it's been a mess. And so as a goalie coach, we've all got these forms and we look at them and we're like, these are trash. So I decided this year, find the one thing, consensus, because each age group had multiple evaluators, find the one thing that would move the needle the most for that goalie's game. And that way they have something tangible to work on for the next year when they come back to districts. We even proposed having in-person 3-minute meetings, like have a timer, because we had so many goalies, have a timer where you're like, hey, we have 3 minutes. This is where we're going to go. You're either going to make it, you're not. You can come with your parent, you can ask questions, we're going to give your feedback. We weren't able to do it this year, maybe next year, but I agree with you 100%. I think it's coward's way out. And I think there's a very important hockey aside, I think it's a very important life lesson and a life skill to be able to handle rejection and adversity in person, and being able to, and I guess I don't even know the best, I guess, handle it, but being able to, yeah, like sit in that room with someone who's cutting you and tell them they're wrong, plead your case, ask questions, be professional. I think that's really, really important. But we also live in an age where everything is more and more and more online, and people are having less and less in-person interaction. And so if you can,
I had I'd push back. I had good pushback. I got a parent took a pound of flesh for me, and I hope it made them feel a lot better, because what they said, in their opinion, was right. They lived in their reality. I live in a reality where I have to make hard choices. And in the process of releasing their kid, they took a pound of flesh for about 25 minutes. And I have one of my assistant coaches during this process is new, never done this before. And he sat there and he's like, how do you just sit there for 20 minutes and just let them say that stuff to you? I said, because they have the right to say it. And that's the one good thing is, like, now they're not going to go home and go to social media and make this big, long post on social media. They're not going to go home and call a bunch of people and talk about all the bad things that I said, because they said it right to me. And I hope that gives them a little bit sense of at least resolve. But nobody really understands what it's like to have to look a kid in the eye and just end words. Like, it's not a fun thing. It really does suck. And a lot of parents think a lot of it's personal and predetermined, and sometimes it is predetermined. If a coach does his work and did homework and will watch the kid play 30 times, yeah, sometimes it is predetermined. But honestly, sometimes it is down to the wire, and you need to see a kid 5 times against another kid, and the pieces fit in the teams where you need them. And you got to fill a team. You can't just pick the best players all the time. You got to pick the pieces that the team needs to make the best team. And yeah, it's a little bit off topic from goalies, but
that's all. It's all on topic because goalies get cut too.
It's life.
Goalies, this is a hockey podcast, and we talk about things going through the tryout process is important.
You're like,
Look,
talk
I
about from
hate kind of kids.
perspective. It's the worst. But let's talk about Weston's trial process. And this you might laugh at me for this. Okay, so where Weston played last year wasn't a place we wanted to go back. So Open Borders gave us that opportunity to go and find another team. So we identified a place that he wanted to go, and he's going to be playing there now. It's Southern Tier Admirals, and they had 2 really good goalies last year. And I decided I'm like, if this is what you want to do, if this is where you want to go, then you're going to have to go in there and you're going to have to take somebody's spot. And he's never done a tryout before. In U9, 2 goalies showed up to tryout. U10 AAA, 2 goalies showed up to tryout. Like, he's never had a tryout before. He played on my spring team, which I probably should have cut him, but he played on my spring, so he's never had a tryout. So we go to 7th tier, and there's 9 goalies. And 3 of them played AAA, and then there's some AA goalies, and he does not play well. So now I, as the goalie pair hat on, am losing my mind because I'm like, he's number 5. Like, I'm like, he's getting cut from this team. I'm like, there's no way that he is in the top 2 here. And then we get through day 1, and now I'm sweating, I'm panicking, and we go back the next day, and I'm like, bud, you gotta be better today. Like, you gotta bring it. And he was a little bit better, but I'd say he's like number 4. And now I'm on the phone, and I'm calling other teams, and I'm like, yeah, we came to here. I'm like, but it doesn't look like he's gonna make it. He's not playing that well. Like, do you have any goalie spots? And everybody's like, no, we picked our goalies. Like, we're done. And I'm like, oh no, I screwed up. Like, I'm in big trouble here. And like, I'm gonna pull him. Like, I'm just gonna pull him off the ice. Like, I'd cut him. He's number 4. The best goalie in camp was a girl who was incredible. And thank God that my kid got his head out of his butt, because the last 2 skates, he was all world, like Vasilevsky all world. And he totally redeemed himself. And he gave me all the confidence I needed in myself again as a hockey coach, because he was unbelievable. But I can understand the stress of what Open Borders does to a parent, because the week before I had to run a tryout, I was in a tryout with a kid that was not playing well. And I would have had sleepless nights, and I was pulling my hair out, and I hate Open Borders. Open Borders is the worst. As a parent and as a coach and as an association member, Open Borders is the worst.
I had a question about your Open Borders. Do you have a limit on how many out of province and out of country kids you can have in Ontario?
Out of province, out of country. I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay. Because I guess basically all of the United States is Open Borders, but there are limits. This is where
I don't know how that works.
it's a massive.
Within the OHF,
Yeah.
like within the OHF, which is Ontario Hockey Federation, it's Open Borders. So if you're an Ontario kid, you can go anywhere you want. Now, some associations have put limits on like how many they'll allow, because some associations get subsidized ice from the county or the city and like the region. So if you have a certain percentage, you pay cheaper ice. If you go above that percentage, then you pay what regular people pay. So like, there's an association around me that subsidized, they get like $240 an hour for ice. And if it didn't get subsidized, it'd be $340 an hour in ice. So like, you times that by whatever thousands of hours they rent a year, and now your registration number is massively higher.
Yeah.
But in terms of out of province, out of country, I'm not too sure how that works. I didn't have any Russian kids come to my tryout, Jamie, so I don't know.
Well, this is something we deal with because there's a few things. So USA Hockey kind of just oversees things, but each state or however it's done has their own rules. But I know in Michigan, depending on your age group, you're only allowed to have a certain number of out of state and a certain number of out of country kids. However, that doesn't go across. So like, we'll play teams from, Pennsylvania or whatever, or Ohio, and their rules are different. So in theory, like, all these teams can have players from wherever. And let's just say there's a really weak age group of Michigan, and all the best Michigan players all go to Little Caesars. But we can't bring in the best kids from California or Florida because we've hit our limit. And then it ends up, you don't have that, like that equal play. And then also the thing too, is like a lot of our tier 1 teams play prep schools, where prep schools aren't privy to these rules either. Like is it Mount St. Charles? Like obviously they're not fielding a team of all kids from Rhode Island. They can have as many kids as they want from wherever, but a team like, like Fox or Little Caesars or whatever, they have to have so many kids from Michigan. This is where they get into the huge argument of how is that fair? And then it's one of those like, what do we do? I don't know what the answer is, but that's just something that's the conversations that we've had in Michigan. Should we change these rules? Should we allow for unlimited number of imports and all these different things to make it a little bit more of a level playing field? That also combined with game limit.
Okay, but the level playing field you're talking about, it's not about development. It's about winning. It's about results, right? You're whining like a little baby about the results because your Michigan team has to play against a team of California kids and
I'm not
whining kids.
I'm not whining. I'm just saying that this is what
It's what I hear, and I can see the tears coming out of your eyes.
what I hear. Our teams are good. We focus on well here. Our teams, if people want to go and be on a super team where they win all the time, that's fine. I'm just saying that these are the conversations that I hear from parents, that they get frustrated when they go and play against, whatever team from here and here, and they don't have one single person from that home state on their team.
Yeah, because they're worried about the results. It's minor hockey, man. It's still about development. Winning is fun. Like, who wants to lose? Nobody. But open borders shows a lot of loyalty. Like you see which kids were loyal to the program, loyal to like developing. Like we had a kid that I developed for the last 4 years. A kid that I've given free lessons to because it wasn't in the family budget for the summer. So I've given him $3,000 worth of summer programs for the last 3 years. Because he's a kid that I like and a kid that I wanted to help develop. Day 1, he jumps ship, goes play somewhere else. I don't even get a phone call or a text or an email until last night when I get a question, are we making up the canceled class from a snowstorm in March? Like, no thank you for the $9,000 worth of free summer program. No thank you for helping and having conversations on the phone. Jumped ship. Like, just out of the blue. And I'm not saying like I deserve loyalty and all that stuff, but I'm saying is like, come on. Like sometime you gotta thank you would be nice. Thank you would be nice. Like the kid put the work in. The kid's a good goalie. Like I'm never gonna take that away. But I mean, like not even a heads up of hey, we're gonna go try out here with open borders because we think we have a better opportunity. It's just hey, I got an email from the association. So and so signed here, and it's like, oh, I didn't even know he's going there. And then, oh, no, thank you, no email saying, hey, just want to let you know, we signed here. We're really excited. It's like, are we going to make up that class that you canceled in March because of the snowstorm? I'm just like, I'm just going to ignore this email because I'm not dealing with this today.
Yeah, I could see. Well,
But can we talk about our Game 7 roller coaster of emotions?
oh yeah. So we went from both being the smartest people on the planet to the dumbest, back to the dumbest, and then we ended up getting the last laugh. See how it goes tonight, right? Did they play tonight? Wednesday, May 7th, did they play? I think so. But we're talking again, of course, this comes full circle. And actually what I do like when we had the podcast that you bailed from, a lot of other goalie coaches really did like the fact that we brought up that conversation between Hellebuck and Binnington with Steve. Because that's something that they deal with too when trying to make decisions. And they like that he gave a non-answer. But yeah, Connor, tonight, 9:30 p.m. start. So Winnipeg Jets, playoffs, can't get through the first round, can never do it. Connor Hellebuck pulled 3 consecutive nights. Ultimately gets the win. So Are we still the smartest people in the room?
Yes, 100%. We called it. We called it back during the Four Nations Cup. Body of work matters. Connor Hellebuyck is better than Jordan Binnington. Doesn't matter how well Jordan played. We were right.
We were,
And I was so prepared to take an absolute beating when it was 3-1 from like everybody just on our YouTube because of all the trash talk that we did and like combative conversations that like I text you, I go, oh man, we reassess our life. And then they scored to make it 3-2. I was like, hold that thought. And then I texted you when they scored 3-3. I'm like, we are still geniuses.
well, you text
It was
like I don't have NHL Network, so when I find shady ways to watch games, it's delayed. And you text. I was watching the last minute, and then you had texted it, and then I realized that they were going to score, but the time's ticking down, and I'm like, what? When are they scoring? Like, are they scoring soon? And then it is a pretty cool at 1.6 seconds, but it's got to be a mental thing, right? Like for Helly. Like the Jets didn't play great, and stats guy Ben came in and had all the nerd analytics. Hellebuyck didn't play great. The Jets didn't play great either. It's just got to be a mental thing, right? Like has to be.
I don't know. But that's why I said, like, now that he's got over that hump, even though he didn't play well, like, does he just now go on a tear? Like,
That's
for example, like, I mean, this is a short sample size, but go back a few years when Montreal went to the finals and they played in the first round. And being a Toronto fan, this is my nightmare. But Leafs were up 3-1 in the series. And then Carey Price just remembered that he was Carey Price and took him to the finals and then never played a game again after that. But that run he went on from game 4, 5, 6, and 7 against the Leafs and then all the way to the Cup final was like greatest of all time discussion. And maybe that's what happens here is Hellebuyck just remembers that he's Hellebuyck and he now goes on a tear. Who knows? Right? But all I do know is that body of work matters. And it's proof.
Yes. I mean, we're on the same page, but I don't know. It's crazy because he's probably going to, even if they lost, he's still probably going to win the Vezina again for the third time. However,
This is gonna be like we need Ben on here. Who else has won 3?
that's a good question. But the thing is should
Hasek.
yeah. But does playoff performance matter in terms of like that discussion?
I think it should.
Also,
This is a good question. I don't think you can win the Vezina if you don't make the playoffs. Number one. So I don't know why they can't take into account performance in the playoffs also. Now it doesn't completely discount what they've done for body of work. But if you have a guy who's in the mix, like you have your 3 nominees, which is Hellebuyck, Kemper, and is it Vasilevsky's? Who's the third?
Yeah.
I feel like it's not.
No, it's Vasilevsky.
Okay, so it is okay. Those are the 3 guys that are nominated. All 3 were in the playoffs. All 3 were pretty crappy in the first round. But Hellebuyck gets through. That should also carry some weight if it was close. I mean, I don't think it's close this year. I think Hellebuyck is a runaway favorite to win that. He's going to win that Vezina Trophy. Like, it's not even close. But I mean, like, Darcy Kemper was a tire fire. Same with Vasilevsky didn't play very well. And Hellebuyck didn't play very well. Like, the 3 nominees were tire fires in the playoffs in the first round.
Yeah. This all comes back to Logan Thompson, possibly best goalie of all time.
Maybe. but it's also now the Joe Wool era. So bring on Joe Wool, goalie god, because game 2 tonight, baby.
Game 2
And
tonight.
I love watching.
I do like watching Wool. Actually, you know what? I don't watch a lot of Leafs because I just can't stand you Leaf fans. It's not even the Leafs, it's just the fans that I can't stand. I did like Stolarz' games up until he got injured, but I do like Wool quite a bit. But before we keep talking about the Leafs, which is this basically a Leafs podcast, Patrick Waugh and Tony Esposito have 3 Vezina. I believe, according to Google's AI, they're the only 2 that would have won 3.
Really, Hasek didn't win 3, eh?
Hasek must have won 2.
He
Yeah, it does.
he won at least maybe 2 Hearts.
He only won 1 cup, right, with Detroit, correct?
He won 1 Stanley Cup, yeah.
Yeah.
He was the goalie in net when Brett Hull had his foot in the crease, game 6.
Yes, that is true. This we gotta talk about this because hopefully we can cut this into a social media clickbait clip. Sam Bennett elbowing Stolarz. Penalty or no?
I would say no. I also did you think?
No, I watched it from every angle. And the thing is, too, is it's Sam Bennett, so obviously he's got a history, but he didn't he didn't punch his elbow at all, and that's why I'm like, that makes it hard to be intentional because like you guys drive the net and their arms hit goalies all the time, like that's just part of it. If he extended his elbow, I would be like, yep, dangerous, but he didn't extend his arm, so he just hit him, and
if you look at his body, like he was like bent over with his head like way out, like it would to me it was just a hockey play. There was a guy trying to get to the front of the net, a goalie in a bad spot, and I don't know. Stolarz is made of cotton candy. Like it didn't look like a play that should have resulted in a guy leaving the building on a stretcher
or like throwing up on the bench. But that circles back to 2 weeks ago where we talked about mask safety. Stolarz does not wear a Bauer mask. He also wears it super weird. Like it's super loose. Do you see that?
every time a puck hits it. It comes off.
I wonder.
Now, did you ask them? Like I missed the ending of it. You might ask. But why does every time a puck hits the mask falls off nowadays?
That's a good question. I didn't ask. So yeah, I know this is my guess. It would have to do with basically the force has to go somewhere, and that force is absorbed through the elasticity of the straps. Then it pops it off. So it actually, in theory, could be a safety thing because if that force doesn't have anywhere to go, then the mask has to eat that, which means the head would have to eat that. So if it pops off through the buckles, then that would be the force kind of having somewhere to exit, which would be safe. However, when you look at Stolarz' mask, like it's barely on his head. So we know that the more movement you get, the more you're going to get concussed. Although like masks are designed to stop pucks, not shoulders to the ear. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see that the podcast with Elliot did bring up a few conversations about other people, and a lot of people have sold their Bauer 930s and updated to 960s so that they're wearing a little bit better protective masks. I still am not on board with the custom mask thing. I can't do it. Like if you're in my mind, if you're going to get a helmet, get whether it's Bauer, CCM, Warrior, whatever, get one that's a stock design because it's gone through so much rigorous testing to make sure that it's as safe as possible, where it's the ones that are designed and shaped around your head. You're going to have spots of either like soft spots or softs where it's places where it's going to take all that force. And I'm still convinced that that's why Matt Murray had so many concussions when he was with the Leafs, because they were, or Pens at least, when they were all practice concussions.
It's funny that you say guys started selling their 930 masks because the second I listened to that podcast, I ordered Weston a 940 because he's wearing the 930. I mean, he's 9 years old. He doesn't need a 9C, so don't judge me as a parent, but I definitely upgraded him to a 940, and it's getting delivered probably the next 2 or 3 hours to my front door.
Oh, well, yeah, like Wesley's 9. But the thing is,
There's not a lot of great cells, so I got to protect him.
when he skates with 12 or 13-year-olds, that's where the problem is when you skate with older kids, then it's like the gap is a challenge. We gotta get Ackerman back on for another pod because I'm looking at my wall because I was doing some vision rehab with the goalie that we were talking about. I didn't know that about eyes closing on shots. That it's where you were, because you were in that group chat we were with, but it was more myself and
But people listening are not, so maybe
yeah. So I'll give fun.
they're not in that conversation. So yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Oh, wait, the listeners weren't in our private group chat, so that's messed up. I have a goalie in from out of town this week or last 2 weeks, and we've been skating, and he plays junior A, and so we've skated before, and so we're skating again, and his movements were very his save execution was very clunky. Where the best way to describe it was, like I said, he was like actively blocking, where basically his hands were going in the right spot, but then his hands would just be like locked and the puck would hit him. And there was no like smooth fluid movement. It was just like punch and get hit. And I couldn't figure out why that was. And I was like, what's going on? And it was about 95% of the time. So there was about 5% of the saves where things were smooth and looked goalie-like. I couldn't figure it out. I said, maybe this is a habit. Maybe it's a balance thing. And so we skated, first session we skated, and I was like, couldn't figure it out. Second session, I was told him, I was like, hey, I want you to try to be smooth in your saves. Try to be smooth in your saves. And then we're going about halfway through that session. I'm like, okay, I got to go. Maybe it's his head because he doesn't wear a dangler. Okay, people don't wear danglers. They tend to drop their chin, which inhibits their ability to track. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go stand on the side, see the profile, and is it a chin thing? And then we look at it. I'm like, he's closing his eyes. And I watch again. Every time the puck's coming at him, his eyes are closed. Eyes are closed. And this is a junior A level goalie. And so I'm like, okay. I don't know. Like, so when trying to fix eyes closed, usually it's kids who are afraid of the puck. Easy fix. You just Goldberg them, tie them to the post, and just rip pucks at them. Then they realize that pucks aren't scary. So I told on the ice, I was like, okay, I don't care about you making saves. I don't care if everything goes in. I want you to like overemphasize your eyes being open. After the skate, went and talked to Dr. Ackerman. I said, I have a goalie. He's closing his eyes. Doesn't make sense. Ackerman immediately FaceTimes me. I don't know when this guy works, but immediately FaceTimes me. Essentially, and this is from my very basic level of understanding of vision, is if your peripheral vision is not either in tune, it's either weak or it's not in tune with your central vision, your ability to see straight in front. Your brain can't process all the information, so it results to your eyes being closed when the puck comes, which makes sense because when the puck was released from his stick, he was able to read the release, which is why his hands were going in the right spot. But he wasn't finishing the save. He wasn't finishing the track because his eyes were closed. And so as we were talking through it, I'm like, okay, now all this makes sense. He came in because doing like vision and concussion rehab and stuff is part of what I do here at Ghost, shameless plug. So we're doing our exercises and he comes in with his girlfriend and I'm showing him what to do. And I'm like, okay, let's test out like your visual field, like very basic test. If looking straight ahead is 0 and looking perfectly in line with your ears is the 90, he could only see about 70 or 80% of his peripheral vision. They couldn't see anything. When you or I are just sitting here, like I can see a little bit behind my head. And so when we were doing this, I was like, oh, okay, first of all, this is not good that your peripheral vision's this week. It's good that we can train it, but we skate this afternoon, and I'm really hoping that even with 2 or 3 days of doing these exercises, things are going to be a little bit better. But I had no idea that having an impaired peripheral vision could result in you closing your eyes on shots. I would have thought that's just like, okay, you're not able to process things from around you, but it shouldn't mess up your ability to make saves. But this is again, we just pump Ackerman's tires all the time, but this is a reason why going to see someone like him is so important, because I don't like, I could see that your eyes are closed. I don't know how to fix that. And for him, he's on a plan. He's probably going to go to Toronto, get his eyes checked out. But Ackerman gave us a whole bunch of exercises and things to do in order to fix this from remotely. But I don't know, I was just fascinated by that on the science side of things, because who would have thought that his peripheral vision was so terrible, and that's why he was closing his eyes on every shot. Crazy science,
Hey, this is why we stay in our lane, right? This is why we don't we have a team, because we can't fix everything. We need people smarter than us to tell us and make us look good, and that's part of what we have to do. And he is smarter than us with that. And I'm going to see him tomorrow. My kid's going to see him tomorrow. Like, we practice what we preach, man. Like, he's good. He helped my kid perform better. So I'm going to see him tomorrow.
That's kind of, I made a couple of YouTube videos on like the classic, the 5 things every goalie should do, and they're the same things. But the one thing I do add is like seeing an eye specialist is now a mandatory thing for all my goalies, whether it's Ackerman or not. Like, get your eyes checked. You got to make sure vision is solid, because it's such an incredible part of goaltending. And if you don't have, you want to be a good skater, but even if you're not a great skater, you're not the most athletic, all these different things, having good vision and good tracking will bail you out from so many problems. Will bail you out so many times, and you can get super far in your career if you are just good at tracking, you have good vision. Like, those things, you need to get your eyes checked to make sure that you're dialed in and that you don't have any of these problems. So as we battle through the adversity of Derek's technological handicapness, Derek's handicapped by his technological weaknesses. Let's end with some parting shots. Boosh, what is your parting shot this week? You have to make up for the last 2 weeks that you've missed too.
My parting shot is, my shout out is going to go to Hayden Jeffrey again. He's in the Southern Cup Finals. So if you remember, he got called up the OHL, had a run, got himself on the NHL draft watch list. Went back to St. Catharines Falcons. It has been an absolute tear. Won the conference. They are down 2-1 in the Southern Cup Finals. And the only win they had, he went 51 of 53. So no big deal. Pretty outrageous. They played the Chatham Maroons. And if they win, this will be in 13 years, the 3rd Sutherland Cup for St. Catharines Falcons, and the 3rd Sutherland Cup using Boujon goaltending.
You lost a bunch of Sutherland Cups though, so that's pretty good.
Are we
a lot of goalies
losing right now?
We got a lot of goalies to that level, because you're talking about winning ones. But think of all your goalies that have got to the Sutherland Cup.
Oh yeah, I think I lost the Sutherland Cup like 4 years in a row. So obviously it was all me. You lost the bench. Yeah, you lost on the bench. So it is what it is. Hey,
it is what it is. It is a good lead. My shout out will be to Muskegon Lumberjacks. We go into the Clark Cup Finals on Friday this week. If you're listening, we're 2 games in the series. Hopefully we are 2 games. Hopefully 2 wins. It would be cool to win that. It'd be first year big win. So shout out to them. And my parting shot it's going to be something I found out. This might sound crazy. I like to pump Fox's tires, but that's also where I work. But someone asked me how much it costs, and our team fees, like to play, were about $8,000. We're under $8,000 to play, which is still a lot of money, but we're under $8,000. When comparing that to the other organizations that are $20,000 to $30,000 just to play, not excluding the mandatory, like you got to do their schooling, all these things. So we actually had a player who was signed up for a AAA team that had like their schooling part and everything. It was $70,000. And so it was actually cheaper.
God.
Their deposit was $16,000. So it turned out it was actually cheaper for that player parents to just eat the deposit, come and play on our team, pay our fees, and still they would come out on top in terms of how much it cost. And so when I heard that it was, only $7,000 something, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's super affordable because a lot of the teams in the States are $20,000+ just to play, excluding travel and all that stuff. So shout out Fox for keeping it reasonably priced in terms of the market that we're in.
Well, that was I talked about my son making a decision to go play somewhere else. That was part of it. But we're talking Canadian dollars. It was $8,500 to pay to play where he played before, and the new place is like 3,000. $5,000 difference. Now we're not talking about like $50,000 like you're talking about, but that is outrageous. I couldn't imagine.
It's outrageous. Yeah. I mean, there's probably the reason why some organizations pay their coaches 6 figures to coach 12-year-olds. But still, that's a lot of money.
Hey, if they want to pay me, I'll take 99,000. You can just keep it in 5 digits.
Wait, you guys are getting paid? What the heck? All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Sorry that we missed 2 weeks in a row. We'll try to be a bit more consistent, but as you can
It was definitely my fault. I apologize. If people saw how busy I was the last 3 weeks, they would understand. Jamie has no empathy. He doesn't care about me at all. You can see my disheveled appearance. I need to go get a haircut. I need sleep. I haven't had any. I apologize. We'll be back into a good routine starting next week, I promise.
I'm just going to cut this clip of you apologizing and just put it on repeat. But thanks everyone for listening, watching. If you like it, best thing you can do is, one, leave a comment, boost the algorithm, but share it. Shares go a long way. We do this. We don't make any money, actually lose money doing this, but we want to help people. So make sure you share this with someone that would get some value with it. And we'll see everyone next week.